Presented by That Time I Got Reincarnated in the Same World as an Anime Podcaster, this is Shonen Jumping the Gun, the show where we set our sights on the first chapter of a manga and decide if it's a misfire or a bullseye.
Let's see how many rounds are in this magazine.
On today's episode, I need to make sure I do the intro read correctly. This is Brain Boy. Welcome, everybody. I'm Telepathetic. Hey, what's your name?
Brad.
Correct. I'm Moxidine. Here with the master mentalist himself, Isekai Sensei Sama Brad, which I guess we learned earlier. Brad, how you doing?
Brad.
I just really wanted to use the I'm Telepathetic joke. I love that one. And here we are in episode 2 of the Western Comics arc with a ancient comic from the Silver Age that Brad randomly pulled from the shelf when we were at the comic store.
We should tell the story. Okay.
Yes.
So we had decided, let's do a Western Comics arc.
Yes, which was predicated entirely on of the Teehee, the Boys, and the Boys arc. That was literally the beginning, the cornerstone of it.
So we were like, well, we want to visit a comic shop, so let's go and we'll buy The Boys, a physical copy of it, so that we can read it and do the episode, not knowing how bad that was going to turn out.
Yes. Somewhat. We kind of knew.
In multiple ways.
Yeah.
Both in real life at the comic book store and otherwise.
I hate that comic book store now.
So we go to the comic store and we go in and we're like, we need to find some other thing that we can cover on this. So let's just browse around for a while. And we're walking around and we just walk down one aisle and I look over and I see Boy.
So, okay, confirmed literally was just because we were thinking about Boys arc and you just saw Boy and you were like, this.
So there's two parts of it. The one, because I think we talked about this a little bit before we walked in. I said we should try and find something older.
Yes, I remember you talking about that.
Let's explore sort of origins kind of thing. And so I saw it and I saw Boy and I saw that it was like an old Silver Age kind of thing. And I, literally just looking at the spine at that point. But I could tell from what was on it that it was like a Silver Age era thing. It's got like the little Comics Authority thing on it and everything.
It's legit.
And I was like, oh, Brain Boy. What is that? I've never heard of that. And I pulled it out and I'm looking at it. I'm like, well, it's definitely old, Silver Age and everything. And I've never heard of this. Given that I have no idea what this is, this would be perfect to cover. Literally just all but randomly pulling something off a shelf.
I'm going to agree with you. I think you picked very well at a random. Picking randomly, this was a good pick. I think this satisfied exactly what we wanted from it.
It's because I have low-level telepathy.
You are also telepathetic. This is probably going to be the oldest thing we ever cover.
Probably. Because
this ran from 1962 to 1963 for 6 issues.
When did Astro Boy come out?
Ooh. Okay, I know I'm not supposed to check things in the middle of the podcast because it throws it to a halt, but that is... Was Astro Boy a manga before it was a anime?
I think so.
First published in 1952. We can go further.
There we go.
Good call. By more than I was expecting.
But then we could also...
That is early. They are just finally coming out of the dust.
There's also some comics from the 20s and 30s.
I mean, that's if we would cover those.
We could go even farther back.
We have a second Western Comics arc. It was written by Herb Castle and arted by Gil Kane and published by Dell Comics. All names I've never heard of.
Yeah. That's probably why I've never heard of this.
Yes, it was weird publisher. The fact that you found it and it's in this nice collected hardcover is in hindsight kind of surprising.
We should also be clear about that. The thing that we actually bought, because I didn't look too closely at it until a little bit later, and then we're looking at it, it's actually an art book. So it's got a few issues of the comic in it, but it's also filled...
This has to have all of them.
I don't know
Or does it have other things in it?
it says number 1 on the side.
It
so.
does, but there's only if my Googling was correct, there's only 6 issues. This feels like
really?
more than 6 issues.
Maybe there's only 2.
There is something else at the end called Space Busters, so maybe this is other things those guys worked on.
But so there's interstitial pages between the issues that are filled with other art and like information and stuff. It's actually really cool. I think I saw online that there's a bunch of other of these like Silver Age art book kind of things. And I would recommend that anybody who's interested in older Western comics at all, check out, is there a brand on there?
I'm trying to, Silver Age Classics. What is the actual thing that is not the original one? Is this not even Brain Boy #1?
What we read is definitely Brain Boy #1.
Yeah. And 2 and maybe 3.
Okay.
I don't remember exactly. Because there was 3 issues. Okay, there's 3 issues. Maybe it's listed as something else, but and there was also issues 1 and 2 of a comic from 1952 that we did not read called Space Busters in all caps.
On the front, what's the red down at the very bottom?
Dell. Oh, PS Art Books. I think PS is also on the spine. So
okay, so that's probably what the
PS stands for something.
The brand is PS Art Books.
PS Publishing. Yeah, they're just called PS Art Books.
But yeah,
I'm sure it stands for something.
It's pretty cool. Getting way ahead of ourselves. This is something that you would want to have on your shelf.
Yes. It is very nice and of its era. And with that little opener out of the way, let me get into my patented Moxie's Mock Speed comic book summary. There's an M in there. I'm working with it.
I'm going to make sure Moxie reads the summary very well.
Oh, no. Mirroring manga opening pages, we are given a brief dictionary overview of psychic words. This being the concept of ESP, or extrasensory perception, and powers like telepathy, clairvoyance, hypnotism, and precognition. It is going to be either I'm going to probably slip into the Psychonaut / the John Freeman, who was Gordon Freeman's brother. Like, this is very of that, born of that 70 years ago.
Yeah.
With that out of the way, we learn the origin of our hero as couple Matt and pregnant Mary Price get into a car accident, hitting a transformer. I'm going to slowly shift into one of the henchmen from Venture Brothers, which this also feels like it could live in Venture Brothers. I'm getting distracted more. They get into a car accident, hitting a transformer and getting zapped with deadly electricity. Matt dies instantly, but somehow, inexplicably, Mary survives and gives birth to Matt, named after his dead father, and right from the womb, he's already showing signs of significance. As he aged, Matt continued to show signs of being special and incredibly intelligent, though Mom never pieced together the whole ESP thing. He was bullied for it and thus kept it a secret. Now Matt has aged into a young man and is at his senior prom when a government agent finds him, sussing out his mind powers and asking him to join his government operation. But Matt freaks out and telepathically throws him, thinking he's about to pull a gun, but is in fact going for his badge. You need a job, young man, and we want to hire you, says the government man. And he accepts the job. After 3 months of training, Brain Boy gets his first mission, reading the mind of our agent man to get all the details. He'll be attending a classical musical festival as a front to infiltrate a small South American country of... Now I get to butcher other languages despite Japanese. This is like... It's South American. This is like old, like Aztec, because it's got that like... I don't know how to say a word that starts with X.
I did not take the time to figure out how to pronounce it. I don't know.
It's like I can't, especially today where my brain is just not good at saying words. I'm just going to call it X for now. I'm sorry, everybody. It's spelled Xochtan. But he's going there. Yeah. He's going there to infiltrate it. They have powerful psychic agents and intend to do something to discredit the US of A. This mission is much more dangerous than it seems, as 3 telepathic US agents have already been mysteriously taken out.
So let's send this kid on his first mission to do this.
Because he's so much better than everybody. The next morning, Brain Boy rides a plane with the classical composers from the US, including a Professor Gomez, who has escaped X-country to live in the States. Matt reads his mind and finds him to be a good dude. Upon landing, 2 agents of the X's People's Party are there to scout him out and plan to kill him when the time is right. The boys are driven to a very nice hotel, and we also meet General Draws, who is the leader of said People's Party. Then one of the agents from before tries to kill Brain Boy in his room, but Matt uses his powers to make the man shoot himself to protect himself, but feels terribly awful afterwards. The next day, the gang go to the festival, but something is amiss. Matt can't read Gomez's mind at all, and now Gomez is giving a speech and absolutely trashing the U.S. This isn't the Gomez I met on the plane. Then two heavies shoot and kill Gomez from a passing car, as General Draws declares those were two Americans who killed him for speaking out. Sensing something is wrong, Matt returns to his room and decides it's somehow okay to put on brown face, and after stealing a soldier's uniform, poses as one of them.
To be fair, he wouldn't have been able to do a lot of the things that he
I guess,
then
but it
goes on
just
to
as
do
like
without doing
as a
that.
person from 2026, I'm like not disgusted by it. I'm just like, oh, you.
Yeah, this I was reading this.
Yeah, Brad.
Oh, this is interesting. Cool. I turned the page and I'm like, oh
Yeah,
no.
it's fine. This thing's from the 60s. It's fine. He then hypnotizes a driver to take him to General Draws, and upon infiltrating the base, learns from reading Draws' thoughts that the actual Professor Gomez is drugged up on the farm of popular doctor Irado and his daughter. Then he gets a lift there. Arriving at the farmhouse, Matt learns the daughter, Maria, is also a telepath. Her and her father are no fans of the regime, but they are too popular to have been killed without causing problems. Matt Penn pieces together the whole scheme from earlier with the denouncing and the killing. Being super pissed about everything, the other assassin agent from before tells the soldiers about Brain Boy and sends a bunch of tanks to the farm to kill him. But it doesn't work, as Brain Boy keeps mind-controlling tank crews one by one to blow up all the other tank crews. If you really think about it, it's really messed up. They barely escape to the plane in the chaos of the battle, but the psychic ex-agent vows revenge against Matt. We'll have to see. Next issue! I had a surprisingly good time with this.
Yeah.
I think, I don't know how much of that is shaped by my love of all the things that this then inspired decades and decades later in that vein of, I think all I've said, Psychonauts, of Venture Brothers, of like all of those things. But there's just something like, nobody writes like this anymore.
Yeah.
And for good reason.
Well, right, because on its face, like in 2026, this is like ridiculous and like ham-fisted and silly.
Everything is told to you so specifically about how what's happening at every moment and how you're feeling about it.
Yeah, that's
and like goodness, the USA getting denounced. That's terrible.
My biggest takeaway from this, as in like, oh, this is the dumb thing that this is doing. And honestly, a lot of the Silver Age comics did this. Is that instead of showing you, because it's a comic, showing you what's happened, they just tell you either in thought bubbles or literally out loud.
The narrator tells
every single thing that's happening and how to think about it and what's going on. It's just so much dialogue all the time.
Yes. I was very charmed by it. I would not want to read a lot of this all the time. It's just because it is such a strange... This is like meeting a caveman. This is like meeting Captain America out of an ice block, or somebody even older than Captain America, where you're just like, wow, you're nobody's like you here anymore.
Yeah.
They don't make them like this anymore. They shouldn't. But like, it's like when you see a really old car and you're just like, wow, that's really cool. And it's like, I don't want all cars to be that. That'd be bad. But as like a little one-off, it's very delightful.
Right. And even as like with classic cars, like there is something here. Like it is interesting in more ways than just being old.
It's very, honestly, more than our actual opener for this arc, it is honestly very early manga.
Oh, by the way, this is also continuation of the boys arc.
Oh yeah, because that was Brad's one because it has a boy in it and Brain Boy. But honestly, even outside of my little gag about the opening page tells you about ESP things, this is very like, I mean, Dragon Ball is as far back as I can go, but other ones where everything is very point to point, and the author is like, I have these characters, and then they go do this, and then they go do that, and I'm going and doing this now, and I'm telling you about this. Like, it feels very like seat of the pants writing.
Yeah.
Parentheses charming. That it's not like, things are happening. It's like, oh, I've set up this little thread puzzle that we're going to go through, that I set up a mystery and then I pay it off. Like, it just feels very early manga because it's early comic. Well, it's somewhat early comics because comics at that point have been around for, well, depending on your argument of what comics is, but like American comics in somewhat of the form we know them have been going on at least since the 1920s, but probably even earlier than that. Honestly, earlier than that, but differently. Again, where you say when things start is confusing.
There's that cave in France.
Yeah, exactly. Of what is sequential art. I was just reading some of not History of Comics. Is that like Scott McCloud? I don't remember what it's called. It's like a seminal work. I've read it multiple times throughout my life. I'll read it again at some point, I'm sure, but it's really good about what makes comics, and it's like really, and it was like written a couple decades ago, but it's still like really good, even as a non-art artist. But no, I just had a really fun time. Like, there's just something about like that old style of writing of like, I've set up this little puzzle, we're going to go through it. It's like, oh, this is my thought process about me doing this next activity or something. And then everything just seems to always like work out. Cause he's like, I need to get to general draws. Man, most of the people here don't own cars. So only important people own cars. They must be backed by the party. If I take one of them, they'll know where to go, or at least they'll know somebody else. Like, he's like, I'll be able to at least get somebody else to get them. It's like, oh, this guy already knows where the place is.
And then he accidentally does that with like one of the most important people.
Yeah.
It's like the third in command or something.
Yeah.
that he has like stop and take him there.
I'll let you talk. I'm babbling on.
There are like actual like setup and payoff things in here that, you know, when you look at a lot of other old things, they're very ham-fisted and everything. And this isn't not ham-fisted, but like specifically the example I'm thinking of is the guy speaking out against the U.S.
Yeah.
We set up earlier that this guy likes the U.S. and
not even on lip service. Literally, our main character can go inside of his brain and see this love for his home country now in the U.S.
And so like this is someone who wants his home country to be better and be more like the U.S. As silly as that sounds in 2026, but probably different back in the 60s. And so when he gets up on stage and starts saying all this anti-U.S. stuff, and Brain Boy can't read his mind, and it's like, what the heck's going on?
Yeah.
Is someone controlling him? And then there's an answer later that we get, which is it was actually a double.
Correct. It was a body
replaced
double,
him.
but also him getting shot. The general didn't know about. The general was aware and had planned the body double, but the quote unquote U.S. agents that were not U.S. agents to shoot him was an extra piece put on by the psychics then.
Right. And then obviously the guy replacing him didn't know that either. And so the guy's last words were like a red herring kind of thing that we were wondering about until we got this reveal.
I sometimes point to older media or media that invokes that. It's just like, storytelling has been around for 1 billion years. And at this point, because we have the internet and there's so many stories, everybody is always trying to not reinvent the wheel, but are always trying to be like, we're getting very meta. We're doing new things we've never done before. And sometimes all you want is just make a charming story that does setups and payoffs, because at the end of the day, that's what a story is. A good story at a basic level is setups and payoffs.
Yeah.
And we are so doing all these gymnastics, and I'm somebody who's a gymnastics doer with it. It's like, I get it. I know why we're doing this, because when you try to go too basic now, it's like we get bored sometimes. But there's just sometimes if you just get it right, I always, as a modern thing, I always point to K-pop Demon Hunters is the most basic bitch storytelling. And it just works, and it's super charming, and it's fun, and it is doing absolutely nothing new. It is the most basic thing that has ever been, but it's doing it in a way that it's like the animation is like everything about what makes it what it is just firing on all cylinders, even though it is just the most, like, because it's like sometimes just people want a simple, straightforward story told well. And because, I mean, I've had another podcast inside of me as like a bonus episode for ages. It's just like, when you're somebody who writes stories, you've taken all the stories. You don't want to write one of those. You want to write something more complicated because you're like, well, those people wrote those stories. But sometimes you just need setups and payoffs and just write the basic thing, because that at the base of our human brains is what we want. Sometimes we want the complicated stuff.
And that's, you're putting the bulk of the energy into the production quality at that point.
Yes.
You're going, okay, yes, the story is fairly standard, but we're going to do that story so well.
We're going to have fun with
that.
this.
It's the pinnacle of that standard.
Yeah. Like it's the we had fun, because there is this is basic and there's nothing here. Like a basic story is not no sauce.
Yeah.
It's just like, if you are charming, people will be charmed by you.
No, a basic story is the thing you put the sauce on.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes the sauce, I feel like I said, recently, I feel like when we have stories, it's like, this is very basic and I've seen all this, is that there is no meaningful sauce to it. Because we can be charmed. I continue to point out, it feels weird talking about manga now on this podcast, of like, Animal Signal is just doing its thing and it does mostly the same thing every chapter. And you know what? I'm charmed every chapter.
Yeah.
And I smile and I giggle to myself, because it got me. It got its sauce on its very basic premise, on its very funny little again, such a manga of tiny little setups and tiny little payoffs, and the characters are charming, and it has its bit, and it's like that's all it needs to do. That's all it needs to do. But no, and this was like, again, this is a thing of setups and payoffs. It's like, what's the deal with like the whole intro of meeting our main character? Like it's so 60s of just like they got zapped with electricity.
Right.
Is such a 60s thing. And I guess there's a lot of other heroes get born in the 60s, but I feel like that feels so. It's like, you know, I get the super soldier serum. I got bit by a scientific spider. You know, even at the basic level of like, I'm an X-Man, I'm a mutant, and I've been born this way.
It's radiation.
Getting his radiation or whatever. And it's just like, me and my wife hit a power transformer, and I die, and my pregnant wife gets zapped with electricity, and this gives my child ESP, the most powerful ESP that's ever been. I mean, what? Shock treatment's still around in the 60s, isn't it? I think it is.
Yeah.
Maybe there's something in the cultural zeitgeist at the time with that, but it's just very silly.
Well, it's
to
also,
me now.
I think, like, I mean, even today to some extent, but more so back then, is like there's so much less information available to the general public about like what these things are and how they work, that it's like,
I guess so.
You know, you can use those as a shortcut to get into superpowers and things.
It's just so funny that it's like electricity that should kill you, but she survives and her baby's got superpowers. Is very just like, I'm along for the ride. Like, this is very like, okay, granddad, and you're just charmed because like you don't get to see granddad a lot. And again, they don't make him like him anymore.
Right.
So it's charming when you get to see him. He had the sauce back then, enough of it at least. So now he's like extra charming because it's like, oh, the people aren't like you.
But I also like, you know, I think this has a lot of merit just on its own, even not considering the time period. Now, of course, we will consider the time period when we are talking about like the objective stuff here later, because this can't exist today. But
no, it can't really.
But I do think there are plenty of things in here that sort of, as pieces that are in the greater whole, those singular pieces work well and still work today.
Yes.
So the fact that Brain Boy isn't invincible and just the best at, like, he is the best and most powerful, but he still has his own limits, and he's still a young kid, and so he's bumbling through this, and he is only getting through because he's slightly ahead in terms of power than the
or
bad
that he's
guys
able
around
to like
him.
think, he's able to problem solve in the moment on top of his big powers. But he's also like, he's a good boy.
The end of this issue has him passing out on the plane as it's taking off because he's
with the doctor and his daughter to get them away.
It's like early morning, and he's been going since the previous day.
He's been making people kill each other with tanks the whole time. Which I like that, like, I mean, I don't like, but this is one of the ones where I can go, oh, granddad, it's funny to me. It's like they make the time when he makes the man shoot himself as this big emotional moment of like, because they say later of like, the thing that makes me different than you, weird government ESP agent here, is that like, I can't just kill and not feel anything.
Right.
But he says this directly after making a bunch of tank crews blow each other up. And it's very just like, yep, this is how they did it back in the day, where like they didn't think about.
But those are henchmen.
What?
They're inside a tank. You can't see them.
They're fine. I know. Like, that's the thing. It's like, you didn't think about this because it's been hand-waved from you as a human, even though it's like, those men are, if you get shot in a tank and the tank gets gun up, the people inside are not having a good time.
Meanwhile, why didn't you just have those tank guys like take out one of their grenades and drop it inside the tank?
Because it makes it so much more visceral. Like that's the thing. It's like, you've technically hand-waved it, but it's not actually. I think there's like a lot of things of like, you could look back at those things. It was like, we didn't actively kill him, but it's like, no, but this was still an incredibly vile and cruel thing that happened that we're not thinking about, so it doesn't affect us morally. And that's a very like me in 2026 brain looking back on these things.
But I think
it's like when Superman gets punched through a building, and us now brain goes like, oh yeah, you think about there are people inside of that building, and inevitably he'd run into one of them. I mean, this is the basis of The Boys that we just read for last episode, but also like fucking the Snyder superhero. But it's also It's like, that's not fun. It's the problem if you think about that, but also I've learned really quickly that's not fun to think about. This is supposed to be a fantastical story, so that's why there's something nice about the like pure naivete that goes into this, that it's like, we don't exist like this anymore, and it's for better, because it's like, people, there's the kind of wool is over your eyes to an extent back then, because you don't have the internet. Your ability to gain information is so much more limited. But there is something very charming about that very like G. Willikers USA stuff, even though I can look back on and go like, that's not good, but I can exit my mind and go, this is how it was written, this was the space it was written. It's I'm chill with it. Also just the fact that because it's the 60s that we're messing with South America.
Yeah.
That's fun. That's a venue we don't really visit anymore.
Except we are actively doing that in 2026.
I forgot. Fuck. But it's not. It wasn't fun like back then when we set up banana republics and all this other fucked up shit we did. As opposed to the fucked up shit we're doing now. At least there was more of a pretend. There's a pretend now and a pretend then. Why quote unquote we as the U.S. did. I'm going to get away from that. I don't want to talk about that.
Okay. But yeah, I think the thing I keep coming back to with this is like, yeah, this is. As a visit back to Silver Age things, I was expecting less sort of like complexity with it, and it. I mean, there were definitely parts of it that were like pretty simplistic, but like I think as a whole, as an entire piece, there was enough complexity in here in terms of the geopolitics, in terms of the actions that he was taking, in terms of the puzzle. Problem solving stuff that he was doing,
what was going on,
the fact that he's not all powerful, invincible stuff. Like there's enough in here that makes you go like, yeah, this is pretty good. If I was an intellectually minded person back when this came out and I picked this up off the shelf at the corner store and read through it, I'd be like, wow. I didn't know comics could be this intelligent.
But I think this is us going back with zero context for this era, or even the things next to this era in like the 70s or the 50s that like we picked one that seemed pretty solid, but we don't have. I feel like you need a litmus test of things because it's
True.
Like there's like again just because it's our thing. It's like there's manga that you can pluck out now. You can go, wow, this popular thing is really good, but you don't have any other data points around it to be like, oh, this was inspired by this, was inspired by this. Like there's always so many things. Or it's like, oh, this one was better but didn't get as big, and because of that, it never made it to you. And like, I don't know. I always want to feel like I want more context data of other things that were floating around in the stew at the time, because that kind of can shape an opinion on something. I don't want to put it on a pedestal because it's like other things could be like this and they just didn't make it to this era, or it's just like not as much stuff got written like that, or it got written under these circumstances. I mean, the Comics Code Authority is in there, so. But no, I had a really good time with it. I was oddly compelled by it, if not a little exhausted by virtue of just how much like reading there is, because everything has to be told to you, and all the like. That is both a positive and a negative, because it's like I'm not like dying to read more of it, but it was like a fun little adventure.
Yeah, I mean, this is the level where, if there was a reason to talk about it more, like I wouldn't mind reading more issues of this.
Yeah. I would read. I'd search back if we somehow just switched. If we're not doing manga anymore, now we're covering Silver Age comic books. I would do more until I got tired of it, but we are not doing that. So, but I remain really glad this is what you grabbed out of the randomness of the comic shop of what grabbed your eye.
And how random, like something that I had never heard of before.
Yeah, a little 6-issue thing.
Just
from a publishing company we've never heard of that clearly didn't do anything major or got absorbed into one of the other ones at some point.
I'm not going to sit here and claim that like I know all the things and like
you had ESP in that moment.
But I do have a pretty wide range of knowledge on various things. Lots of width, not a ton of depth.
Correct.
And so coming across something that I'd never heard of is more rare than not. And so the fact that this thing that I never heard of was also not bad, and I think is a really good example of like this era, probably.
Yeah.
I hope this is a good representation of the era. I think we got really lucky.
Yeah. I feel like more than anything, I want my mission statement for this one is that manga is Western comics is manga. At this time, because they're getting it somewhat from us culturally by virtue of the war is over and GIs are showing up with their comic books and is being born out of it. This is very, I mean, I guess to that, like I said, early on of manga, very pulpy, very point to point, very here's my little puzzle and I've set it up and now I've played the trap out. Very here's your main character you're following, here's their situation. Wouldn't you like to imagine being with this set of powers doing these things to an extent? Like it just this feels like a sibling point. Obviously not specifically Brain Boy, but that it felt weirdly familiar in a way that I felt was very fitting for this podcast and what we do here. So I don't know if we'll necessarily run into that again this arc. I mean, definitely there's been more back and forth like now in the past couple of decades of manga influencing Western comics, but it's fun seeing in this more primordial time for both of them. No, not as primordial for comics because again they've been around for decades at the point in the 60s, and a couple decades in Japan for manga, which is again just Japanese comics like Kameksu. People are storytellers around the world. You know, manga was not written for an American audience, but it was born out of this is somebody writing a story to keep people entertained, and that's what a comic book is, especially because it's short form. It's short form images. Here's one chapter. Here's one issue. They're born of the same. I would love to know more history about that because they are born of the same space, the same human thought, even if they are many oceans apart. Brad, where do you think he thinks and Feely feels?
I think. So again, I'm going completely off of the time for my objective thoughts on this, because I don't think that it makes sense to view it through a lens of today. I think this is great.
I could see that. I think this is good because I can tell that I'm colored by the novelty of this. Mm. But if this was all I read, it would be very exhausting. I mean, if you read
also in color.
It's what? It is nice that it's in color. But it is exhausting to constantly be told everything that's going on, but you have pictures to show these things.
There's so many times, like the one part where he's like, he starts sneaking out after he puts on blackface. Yes. He's like, it's still too light out, so I'm going to go up here on top of a building.
Him flying is the funniest shit.
Because it's always so undynamic. It's just like PNG moving across a screen.
Because I think it's why Superman flies like Superman, where he puts his fist out, because when he's flying, his arms are tucked to his sides and his chin is tilted up and his head is forward. So he's like human bulleting his way everywhere at funny angles when he's like flying up steps and stuff. And it just looks really silly.
Which is honestly how you would actually fly.
Like, I mean, yes, but like,
but it looks ridiculous.
This is going back to the thing I already said. Realisticness does not make good story or art.
Yeah.
We make art because we are escaping reality, but we are commenting on it. If you had to spend any time that you had a story where somebody got punched into a building and you had to spend moral time paying attention to that people in that building and they got hurt, that's not what the story's about. You're wasting time. Like, just float over it, because that's not what the story's about. Yeah. Like, you can't be beholden to this realism, quote unquote, be people. Like, it's like you can do that a couple times when people start putting that together collectively, but then it's like you can't be like, and now we have to wear this ball and chain on our leg for the rest of time in writing, because it's like, well, no, because it was fun that it's fun and exciting when a man gets punched through a building and the building's like whoosh, you know, and that remains here. What are your feels?
Good to great.
That was my position.
I had
a fun time with this.
Part of it was just the sheer surprise.
Yeah.
Of how good it was. Like, and I didn't go into it expecting it to be bad, but it was so much better than what I was expecting that it really heightened my enjoyment of the whole thing.
What's keeping you from great? Out of curiosity.
I think it's just those trappings of something that's really old. The over explanation.
Yeah.
The weirdness in the art. The way that the pacing is really clunky in some cases. It's not bad pacing overall. I want to be clear.
It's shaped.
There are certain places where the pacing is dumb.
It's driving a car from the 1960s.
Like the going up on top of the building to wait for nightfall thing, which took like 5 or 6 panels and gave us nothing.
But him flying around at night in the sky is a fun, if not silly, picture.
Yeah. So yeah, I'd say I think overall, like, it was a great time. I'm so happy that we got this lucky here. But then there's those couple things that I just go down. Yeah, good to great.
Yeah. Yep. That's kind of where I'm at. I just remember one thing I wanted to point out that I love is that when the agent finds him at the prom and like uses his psychic powers to kind of goad him into like, you heard my thoughts. That's how you.
Oh, he just walks up and thinks,
yeah,
hey, you're such and such, or I forget exactly what it was.
He says something essentially to get his attention.
Can we go somewhere and talk or something?
And he responds. Our main guy, Matt, responds, and it's
out
like,
loud.
You only knew that because you could read my thoughts, which how did he know? I guess he just was doing that. This government is at a high school doing that to whatever. Don't think about it.
He thought very loudly.
But not what I'm... My point is that I love that, like, he keeps going, Matt, you have psychic powers. You should join us. And Matt's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't have psychic powers. And then when he's like finally going for the badge and Matt thinks he's a gun, he's like, I've got a brain shield. You can't get to me. Like all of a sudden it just feels like he's, let me get the exact verb, but there's like the way I read that scene is like he's being very like calm. It's like, no, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, please leave me alone. And then all of a sudden he just instantly escalates to like, I've got a brain shield. You can't get through this. God, he looks so silly when he's flying through the sky. It's so funny. Gosh, yeah. I've set up a shield. You can use a gun on me, even a gun won't work. I've set up a shield. Like, he just goes from like, no, to like, I've done all this psychic stuff on you now. It's like, calm down, bud. Jeez. But yeah. I mean, would you somehow try to seek out the other 3 issues that seemingly exist?
The funny thing is, like, this is something where if I had normally seen this in a bookstore, like if we were browsing Barnes & Noble or whatever, there's no way I would have bought this.
You would have never given it the time of day. This is why we do these gimmick things, because it forces us out of our comfort zone to look at other things.
Because I'm not into Silver Age stuff.
No,
like,
you're not really into Western comics that much.
Yeah. Having read this first issue of this and having looked at some of the other art in that book and everything, yes, I will buy all of this and put it on my shelf.
Wow, interesting. Okay.
I might not actually read the rest of it.
Probably would. Yeah, you have your weird I'll put it on my shelf thing.
This is something that should be in my home on a shelf.
Interesting.
To go, look how cultured I am.
Old comic books before when all of us were alive. Would not buy, would not read more. Was a fun thing to experience. Mostly, again, makes me want to replay Psychonauts and start finally rewatching Venture Brothers. Just because I'd rather these tropes be taken to mostly now and then play with them there. But I am such a sucker for like old special, especially I love psychic powers. I mean, again, I love Psychonauts, but like I love psychic powers so much. They're like my favorite power base. Just because I like people and brain power stuff. Also, have you ever seen other things where ESP is that you are also really smart? I don't think that's usually connected. I'm not saying it's never been connected, but I feel usually it's like, oh, you can read thoughts. I guess they make a point when they teach you that you can have, shoot, I can look at it because the book's right next to me, but I want to figure out the word, where you can see the future, glimpses of the future. Precognition. But I don't think he ever uses that power.
No, he doesn't so far. The woman that he goes to the farmhouse and finds, I think she has low-level precog.
Right. Yeah. I love also the short form of precog is really cool. I don't know. Again, does he have pyrokinesis? Have they figured that out yet? Who knows? But yes, I would not buy more. I don't think I'll seek out more, but it's making me want to play in that sort of I guess like beepity beep, because the people don't need to hear this, and this is honestly just for us, and not even like you beep it out. This part gets cut. I'm talking to you, Brad, as a human being. This is part of the vibe that I want in Chrononauts. A little bit in there. Of just this weird old special agent. Oh, like again, it's that like they're the Chrononauts. Like that's this is the vibe to an extent. Yep, we don't need to duel. We're on the same page. Brad, psychically end the episode. Use your psychic telepathic powers to communicate with everybody. Did we forget something? Is there anything?
I was just trying to make sure. I think we're good.
Yeah.
Well, as always, we want to hear from people. we want to hear your thoughts. Are you into really old Western comics? Let us know. What you can do is go on our website, animepodcasterreincarnation.com, and find our social links page. And from there, you can find a link to our Discord, which is the best place to talk with us. Come on there and let us know what you think about old Western comics. Have you ever heard of Brain Boy?
Yeah.
I feel like someone should have heard of this before, but
I don't think so. I think you are insane to think anybody's heard of it before.
You'll also find links up there to other various social media platforms. If you prefer to use those, you're welcome to. Discord is still the best place to talk with us.
Brad, imagine many decades from now asking somebody not in our general circle that was in the regular populace, hey, do you know the manga Gonron Egg? That's what this is. Obviously, this is better, but that was 6 issues. That was what? I don't remember how many chapters. Essentially, conceptually, a very similar run, because 6 issues is usually a run of a comic. I think you're insane.
Sure. But you can also find a link up on the social links page to our Patreon, where some people are there, where our supporters get perks like getting the high-quality stereo version of the podcast early and bonus episodes, which there have been a couple of so far, and I guess we're going to do another one at some point here.
Are we?
You said you've got a bonus episode cooking. So.
Oh, I mean, at some point. I don't know if it's necessarily it's not specific to this arc, but I've just had thoughts about art and the creation of art and all that, so that'll boil over at some point.
And for a limited time, there's another special Patreon bonus.
Yes. Man, I hate saying this every time, but I'm going to keep doing it. Yes, if you are a merchant tier above, which is a $3 backer, in time for the fall, when we're hopefully going to be recording the Obligation arc. So if you are a $3 backer, you literally only have to be for a month. You can pay that, come into the special Discord channel for being a $3 backer and above, and say literally any manga you want us to cover, and we will cover it. I guess also by virtue of this arc,
on last episode
is that you can technically suggest a Western comic, but I'd rather you didn't, so you better be swinging if that's what you think. I'd rather it be manga because that was the original plan. I want to keep Western comics contained. This is a vacation that will not follow us back.
If the Western comic that you decide you want us to cover, if there's not a good reason for it, then we'll reject it.
Correct. That's the one. But manga we will not reject. For the
manga's
most part,
all comers.
Yes. Hopefully you do that, because it'll be a fun, crazy arc of cool things that you want to hear us talk about and go read and maybe get excited about or something.
Yeah.
Brad, back to you.
As well as all of those perks, our patrons also get a shout out. So, first and foremost, at our royal tier, we've got our Crown Prince, Slimy Okra.
Yippee-yi-yay, yippee-yi-yay. Ghost riders in the sky.
Also, at our noble tier, we've got our Archduke Imaginary Numeral.
I hurt myself today to see if I still feel. I focus on the pain, the only thing that's real.
And at our noble tier, we've got our marquee, Sir Cake Dwarf. Love is a burning thing, and it makes a fiery ring. Bound by wild desire, I fell into a ring of fire. I fell into a burning ring of fire. I went down, 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 and the flames went higher. And it burns, 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 the ring of fire, the ring of fire. And last, and certainly not least, at our commoner tier, we've got Laura Carroll, Last Man on Earth, and Rena. So thank you so much to all our patrons.
Thank you, patrons. Thank you, Brad, for doing that. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Make sure you listen to all the podcasts in our feed, and Listener, another call out one. What's your favorite psychic power? I don't know if it's the one that you just think is the coolest. I don't know if it's the one that you want the most. Come into our Discord or all the comments or whatever. What is a psychic power that you're like, every time it shows up, you're like, yeah, or that you would want?
Brain Boy.
I do need your bit for the intro, not for the on this episode, but I'm going to ask you your name and you just need to say Brad. That's all I need you to do. Can you do that? It's for my thing, and then I'll throw to you then later. Oh wait, I gotta do. My original thing was gonna be something Psychonauts related, but I think I'm gonna put that on today's episode.
I can put a thinking about something voice overlay on top of this.
Oh, really?
Not the whole thing, but it would
Okay.
be like, I need to make sure that I do the read properly.
Huh.
It's Brain Boy.
Oh, that'd be kind of fun. I actually no, I dig that more because I was just gonna be going on today's episode. You too can become a Psychonaut. This is Brain Boy. And mostly it's just I like saying Psychonauts like they say in the intro, but I like your idea better.
My brain is melting already. It's not good.
Nope.
So
We have to talk more today. This is so promising.
I can't read people's minds or fly or move things, but I can psychically make people shit their pants.
Honestly, I think telekinesis is the best one. I think
Psychic chloroplastosis.
I think you could
what is the parasite called?
Oh goodness. I think if you had telekinesis, you could figure out a way to do that. But I know that people don't usually think about that.
Oh yeah, no, you could, but very
reaching inside
specifically,
people.
you
Yeah.
only have the power
Correct.
to make people
Yes.
shit their
Yes.
pants.
But no, telekinesis. I think if you have any of the thinking, like if you go into somebody's brain, that is just such a dangerous moral power that it's like I'd rather just not have that.
Yeah.
Not thinking too hard about the girl in Animal Signal who has that power. It is limited, admittedly.
Just before we wrap up,
Yep.
did you notice what the bookmarks are?
I was going to ask you about why do you have these? Why do you have
Tell
three-
everybody what the bookmark is.
Oh, okay. I didn't know this was for the class. Yeah, Brad left bookmarks in the two comics because he had them first because I was away and he was the one that was going to set. So we put in these bookmarks, and it is McDonald's free meal cards for a sandwich. And I was very confused about that. What does this have to do with? That has to be on the podcast.
Okay, so
Are we going to McDonald's?
every week we go for groceries on Wednesday,
Okay.
and my son and I go, and it's partly time that we can spend together. And so we pick up McDonald's and then we go sit in the grocery store parking lot and watch YouTube videos while we eat dinner.
Oh, that's cute.
And this has happened before, but this particular time was pretty egregious. They mess stuff up sometimes,
Yes.
right? On one particular day, the way they messed up my order was so egregious. I think a whole entire sandwich was missing, like a $4 or $5 sandwich.
Yeah.
It was just completely not included. That I, went and sent an email and complained about it, right? I was hoping to get a free meal, some money back,
just
whatever it
something,
is, which is what happened. But if you're not aware, McDonald's is franchised, and so corporate McDonald's, even though like all of the franchises use the app and like they have standards and all that stuff, they're still owned by separate companies. And at a sort of financial level, the money isn't really shared. They have to like send money to McDonald's and they have to pay to use the app system and all that. So what I got sent was these gift card things
Yes.
that are only good if I hand them in person to someone at the cash register.
That specific one I'm not
I can't
noticing.
like put it on the app, and I always order through the app. It's so much easier. So I just had these sitting on my desk, and I'm reading these comics, and I'm like, oh, I need to put a bookmark in here, and I'm looking around. I'm like, what can I use? And quite frankly, I was looking for our podcast business cards that we have, because those are somewhere in my house, but I didn't see them anywhere. And then I saw these, and I was like, oh, Western Comics, McDonald's.
Oh my god. Okay, I was like waiting for this like genius stroke. That's pretty fun. I like that. That's a very us in the vein of this arc and other arcs we've done. That's a very us thing.
And also, I'm never going to use those.
Oh, I was just about to give them back to you. So
you can use them.
Yeah, I'll figure it out.
So yeah,
that's a fun after beep story. What a journey.
All right, it's 4:20.
Let's start setting up.
Blaze it.